Good afternoon. Today is March 29th, 2022, and this is the hearings of the Ways and Means Committee. First, calling Senate Bill 264 with Senator Elfreth.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Good to be back. I'm here to present Senate Bill 264, Community Solar Energy Generating System exemption from property taxes. This should be a familiar bill. Delegate Smith presented this bill, and I believe it passed out of this committee and out of the House. It seeks to kind of solve twofold problems. One is how do we increase our rooftop solar generation as we move more into to meet our renewable energy goals. But number two, how do we ensure that those benefits are going to Marylanders who need it the most? So our low and moderate income Marylanders. So the bill does a couple things to kind of meet those twofold goals. First, it would remove the energy tax exemption as the bill is drafted. It would remove, again, mine lands from the definition of brownfield. It clarifies that we're going to give this benefit to rooftop community solar and cap it at a 2 megawatt. For systems eligible, sunset the exemption in 2024, which kind of matches the current community solar program sunset. And then we place reporting requirements on the bill so that we can take a good look at the result in a few years and then make the necessary policy decisions moving forward. Again, this is to better incentivize the margin for these projects, particularly for low and moderate income projects or projects that benefit that community. Margins are very small. This exemption of the property tax will help actually get more projects. Only 2 exist in Maryland now. This should get us up and running with more, again, benefiting the Marylanders who need it the most and helping us achieve our renewable energy goals. Now the Senate and House versions of the bill match identically, and the bill passed the Senate unanimously. And Madam Chair, I urge a favorable committee report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Senator Elfreth? Okay, seeing none, that concludes the testimony on Senate Bill 264. Calling Senate Bill 567, Senator Elfreth.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Here to proudly present Senate Bill 567, Property Tax Agriculture Use Assessment Improvements, another bill the committee is familiar with. Delegate Hornberger was kind enough to take it in the House. I'll kind of take us back to the problem we're trying to solve here. I am very fortunate to represent a number of farms in my district. And of course, everybody is familiar with kind of an overarching problem that our farmers are being squeezed left and right. We want to make sure that they are diversifying their revenue so that they can stay afloat and not necessarily have to sell to development or any other project, but to keep that ag land ag. Unfortunately, the State Department of Assessments and Taxation over the last year has gone to various value-added farm programs. I have a farm in my district in Lothian that was using its barn to have Saturday and Sunday farmers markets where they're selling products they grew on the farm. Other farmers around are selling their products. State Department of Assessments and Taxation came in and said, we're going to assess that building as commercial, not as ag. This happened as well to a number of wineries, a number of farm breweries, and even a number of farms that host horses. SDAT was going in and assessing the barn as commercial and not ag. And again, I think this committee and my committee in the Senate Budget and Tax are responsible for making those tax policy decisions, not a state agency kind of unilaterally. So what the result when these buildings were reassessed as commercial was the doubling of tax bills for a number of our farmers coming out of a pandemic when they least needed it. So we stepped back and the bills changed from when you saw it. It had a fiscal note that didn't really make much sense, but we worked with Maryland Association of Counties, and I want to thank them profusely for coming to the table and figuring out how do we make a sensible tax policy that still adheres to our goals as a General Assembly of helping agriculture stay agriculture. So the bill as amended before you does a couple of things. It's going to narrowly define accessory use on an actively used farm. What we don't want is a brewery on Main Street, Annapolis, to say, I'm going to go get that lower tax assessment. I'm going to move to a farm, not grow any of the hops, not keep that farm active. We don't want that. We want to make sure that a farm brewery or a winery or a creamery is on an actively used farm. We want to keep ag. We want to ensure that large event venues and improvements not related to local zoning of the land are not included as an accessory use or actively used farm. This was a request by Mako. I think everybody's goal here is we don't want a wedding venue, again, to plop onto a farm and call it ag. That's not ag. So we clarified that in the bill. We also designated this bill as emergency legislation and require the reassessment of all the farms that have to date been assessed, how we feel inaccurately by SDAT. Now, Madam Chair, we got a decision or a recommendation from the Attorney General's office on Monday that the changes we made to the bill might not fit our uniformity standard. And so we presented, I believe Stan on your committee has an amendment to try to fix that. I'm not an attorney, but I think he understands our intent here. And so maybe we need to work on that amendment a little bit more. Again, we just got it on Monday, and I'm pretty sure today is Tuesday, though I can't quite remember what day it is. It's been that kind of week already. So we look forward to working with Stan to make sure that the policy goal of this General Assembly that we state again and again to keep diversifying revenue for agriculture, to keep ag is still met without violating the uniformity clause. And with that, Madam Chair, I'm just looking forward to working with your committee to see how we can achieve those two goals and pass this bill as favorably in order to help our farmers.
So I think he is aware of all of that. Are there any questions for Senator Elfreth? Okay, seeing none, thank you. That concludes the testimony on Senate Bill 567. Next, Senate Bill 907, Senator Simon Ayer and David Guerreras is here for questions committee, if there are any for the senator or for Mr. Guerreras after the senator presents the bill. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. This is a cross file of House Bill 328, which you passed, and it's over in the Senate now. We have a little difference, and I'll go over the differences, but basically this bill provides some flexibility so they can use polling places, especially larger polling places. Currently in law, it's very strict and not much flexibility. So the Board of Elections and the local boards have asked to put that in regulation to give them more flexibility. So it makes them define parameters for the buildings in regulation, but it also, which is different from the House bill, it says they have to prioritize buildings without alcohol licenses. Unfortunately, when we talked to the Board of Elections, they said they cannot adopt the regulations until after the primary election. So we didn't want to strike the provisions in current law and not have regulations, basically leaving it wide open what they could do. So the way this bill is worded now is it will have them adopt the regulations by August 31st. If that goes through, then everything's good. Otherwise, it will strike the bill and then it'll go back to the original language. What that does basically, it says during the primary elections, we will have current law in place. After they adopt the regulations after the primary, then the regulations would go forward and we would strike the law. It was a very creative way that staff put this together, and I compliment them for doing that. We just didn't want to have an opportunity where no restrictions were placed on the polling places. That's the bill.
Thank you. And committee, we also have our friends from the Board of Elections here as well. Are there any questions for anybody, committee members? Okay, seeing none, that concludes the testimony on Senate Bill 907. Thank you, Senator Simon Ayer.
Thank you, and thank you for Delegate Jones.
Calling Senate Bill 925, Senator Patterson. Senator Patterson, you're muted.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Come on now. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of Ways and Means Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce Senate Bill 925. Senate Bill 925 seeks to modify requirements regarding the number of days and hours of operation for in-person voting centers during special elections, which was carried out recently by Prince George's County. During the special election that was held in January, for 6 days, we had a total of 191 voters, and this bill would authorize the County Council of Prince George's County to decide how many voting days would be necessary to carry out a special election. Montgomery County already has such a system, and we've been in contact with them, and believe me, it saves the county quite a bit of money if you don't have to have all these sites established for an election with so few voters. So with that, I would hope that this committee would favorably look upon this bill and give us a favorable vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Committee, are there any questions for the senator or for the folks from the Board of Elections? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Senator Patterson. That
Thank you.
concludes the testimony on Senate Bill 925. Senate Bill 247, Senator Hayes.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Ways and Means Committee. I'm honored to speak with you today in support of Senate Bill 247. This bill was already brought to you, and you heard from one of our dynamic constituents, Ms. Lisa Scott, earlier this session when Delegate Ampry introduced, I believe it was House Bill 69. The Budget and Tax Committee made a few changes to the bill. Senate Bill 247 requires the State Department of Taxation to make public and plain language description of various methodologies and criteria for evaluation and assessments, authorize appeals authorities to consider certain criteria in evaluating an appeal. And lastly, the bill requires SDAD to notify the county or municipality within 10 days of an appeal that reduces by more than 20% of the value of a commercial property and give 90 days for the locality to file an appeal. There were 3 amendments, excuse me, to this bill. The first amendment was technical. The second strikes provision that pertained to the 3-year reassessment cycle. And third, it strikes an unconstitutional provision and adds a notification requirement for counties and municipalities. Madam Chair, members of the committee, I urge a favorable report for Senate Bill 247.
Are there any questions for Senator Hayes? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Senator Hayes.
Thank you.
And that concludes the testimony on Senate Bill 247. Committee on the floor, I said we were voting right after this. We are going to vote at 3:30 because a lot of our members are presenting bills in the Senate. So we don't have enough people to vote right now. So at 3:30, come on down and we will vote in full committee. Until then, thank you. Bye.